You know where you are, you're in the jungle. Rooting all the way to the Super Bowl. You know where you are, you're in the jungle. Say who they think gonna beat them Bengals?
All right, welcome everyone to the Real Bengals Fans Podcast. I am your co-host, Sammy Stickler. Alongside me today is, of course, none other than the master CEO of RBF and my Bengals brother from another mother, Scott Meyer. Scott, man, how you doing today?
Hey, Sammy, I'm doing fantastic, man. Looking forward to doing another podcast. Looking forward to getting this thing rolling. It's been a few weeks and kind of went through withdrawal, man. So how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I can't complain myself. I know how you feel. Now the Super Bowl football is over with. Everybody's kind of depressed, but now we're going to kind of get back into the swing of football with the free agency kicking off, which is what we're going to talk about today. But to bring you up to speed on everything RBF, we did hit a lull in activity since the end of the NFL season with the Denver Broncos winning the Lombardi Trophy. But for all your Cincinnati Bengals news, views, and memes, or just to have fun with other Bengals fans, check out the website at www.realbengalsfans.com, the RBF Facebook group with over 10,000 members, and the RBF Facebook page where articles and this podcast can be found. Now it's time to get on to the meat and potatoes of the podcast. So, Scott, I want to start off talking to you a little bit about, free agency started yesterday. So tell me, what's your overall general impression about what's going on with the Cincinnati Bengals and their free agent acquisitions?
I think that they've done a fantastic job as to this point right now. I'm very, very happy with the outcome. There's a couple wide receivers that we got to talk about, but I actually just less than a minute ago got some information that it looks like Sanu has finally made his decision. So we're going to have to add that to our agenda because that just happened just maybe 30 minutes ago, I guess. But I'm pretty happy overall with what's going on. I'm really glad to see that they've signed some key personnel back into the mix, especially on the defensive side of the ball. How about you, Sammy?
My first impression was I think the biggest thing that, surprised me the most was the fact that out of the three wide receivers that was going to be unrestricted free agents was the fact that they brought back Tate. Not that I have anything against Tate, but, I thought that Sanu and Marvin Jones were the two more key priorities, and I haven't seen any of this stuff that you're talking about within the past 30 minutes on Sanu, so I'll be interested in hearing about it. But I just didn't see Tate as being as much of a game changer. So, if you don't mind, fill me in. What's going on with Sanu?
Well, first, I just got to say, they got to have a backup to Pac-Man on the returns just in case. So that's probably only the one and only reason that they signed good old Tate back.
That's true.
But as far as Sanu goes, I just got word that he just got done inking a deal for 5 years, and I don't know exactly how many millions of dollars, but I'm sure it wasn't for a small amount with the Falcons for 5 years. So people down in Atlanta are pretty doggone happy, including my brother, who I just got off the phone with, who lives down there in Atlanta. So what do you think of that?
I knew it was going to be hard to keep either Sanu or Jones. The fact is that Marvin Jones got a ton of money to go to Detroit, and the fact is I don't know if he's going to be able to fill the shoes that Calvin Johnson left behind going into retirement. I know I saw this analogy is like replacing Calvin Johnson with Marvin Jones is like replacing a Lamborghini with a Honda Accord, and honestly I kind of agree with that, and I kind of anticipated seeing Sanu going on to Atlanta or somewhere else. So let's go ahead and move on. I know I've read a few articles. I know Cole Harvey, a Bengals writer for ESPN, has stated that with the signing of George Iloka, it's probably not going to happen that we're going to end up having Reggie Nelson in the secondary alongside him. Do you think that's going to hurt our defense?
I don't actually think that that's going to hurt our defense. I know Reggie. Granted, he had the most interceptions in the NFL last year on the Bengals defense and in the NFL period. But I really think that Iloka has started to show up and started to shine, and I think that he is a star, and I think that he's the up and comer. Gosh, the guy's only 25 years old, and I think it's ready to give him a shot. With Reggie, overshadowing him, there's really no way for anybody to tell whether or not he can step up and really produce as a starter, and I want to see that happen. Reggie Nelson is 33 years old. He's coming towards the end of his career, even though he's at the top of his game, and at any moment he could take an injury. You never know what's going to happen at that age. I know that sounds I guess a bit rough, but being 33 is very old in the NFL now, unless you're a quarterback, of course, or a punter. But anyway, what do you think? I mean, do you think that losing Reggie Nelson is really going to end up causing an issue with our defense at all?
Really, Scott, the way I look at it is any time that you lose the NFL leading man in interceptions, it's going to hurt. I mean, you can't. Hopefully they're able to find somebody that can fill that void. But you're right. He is in his 30s. George Iloka's in his mid-20s. I mean, Iloka has more years that he can aspire, and the fact that we inked him for 5 years is great. The thing that I'm going to miss the most is knowing that Reggie Nelson was Ben Roethlisberger's kryptonite, if you know what I'm talking about. It does not matter. If it went over the middle of the field, George Iloka was going to catch Ben Roethlisberger's pass, and that's what I love seeing, of course, being a Cincinnati Bengals fan. So I agree with you. It's not going to hurt a lot, but I do think it is going to hurt somewhat because somebody's going to have to fill that void, and hopefully George is going to be that person to do it. And, of course, I think we got that Williams guy. I forget what his first name is. I think he has that possibility of moving into the safety position, alongside Iloka with that, youth and that talent. And we'll just have to wait and see. But moving along, we lost the two key components of the offense, like what we've talked about, Marvin Jones and now Mohamed Sanu signing in Atlanta. But we were able to keep Adam Jones and George Iloka on long-term deals. Adam Jones for 3 years and Iloka for 5. Do you think that is going to equal out?
Well, I definitely think that Marvin Jones is no Calvin Johnson. So I don't know, I don't know how much of a deal that Detroit Lions got out of that acquisition. I would say that I would have preferred to at least keep Sanu because I like his athleticism. And I know Marvin Jones got over that injury pretty well, but you never know if that's going to pop up. So, I don't really think that he was a number one caliber wide receiver to begin with. Now, I might eat my words later on, maybe down the road on that, but I really don't think Marvin Jones is a number one wide receiver. Mohamed Sanu, on the other hand, I definitely think that he showed that he could possibly fill those types of shoes. Maybe not even Calvin Jones, of course, but nevertheless, the fact is that our wide receivers are getting signed simply because they've been doing a damn good job. So I do not like the fact that we've lost the wide receivers. I do think that we will seek out a wide receiver. I would say just one in free agency. Who that's going to be, I don't know. But I do also think that we're going to look at a wide receiver in the draft. And I'd actually like to see us hold off on letting McCarron go for a draft pick until the drafts actually happen in one of those last-minute deals where we, trade up to get the person we really think is going to be able to benefit our offense the most in a wide receiver in the draft. So do I see it evening out or equaling out? Yeah, I do, because Adam Jones, I wanted him back. There's a lot of people still, even Bengals fans, that want to blame him for our loss in the playoffs, but I don't think that was his fault. I still have a lot of issues with how they called that game, the officials. And quite frankly, Adam Jones has been the backbone of the passion for our defense for the past couple years. So to let him lose that for our defensive team as a whole would have been a huge mistake in my opinion. And having George be in there and knowing that we're going to have some security in the middle of the field, even with Burger Man thrown around, I think that's good. I think Iloka can fill those shoes of Reggie. I know they're big shoes to fill, but I think he's up for the task, and maybe I'll eat those words too later, but I don't know. I don't think so. What are your thoughts?
I think it equals out, if not better for us, because, as this past Super Bowl showed us, Scott, defense wins championships. Carolina was on a tear on offense in the NFC, and they had a good defense. It wasn't great. They had that one Josh Norman cornerback. He was a good shutdown on wide receivers. But the fact of the matter is keeping the key components of the defense intact, like we were able to do in George Iloka, Adam Jones, and now today, we haven't mentioned this, Vincent Ray now coming in, I think, on another 3-year deal, which is another great acquisition, is going to make Cincinnati another contender for next season. Wide receivers can be found anywhere in the middle to late stages of the NFL draft, like Sanu and Marvin Jones were. I think Marvin Jones was a 5th-round draft pick, and Sanu was a 3rd-round draft pick. So I know everybody I've heard and I've seen on the message boards through the RBF Facebook group, should we be drafting a wide receiver in the 1st round? Not unless the right wide receiver is there. And I think we might talk about that here in a little bit. But if it's anything that this organization in Cincinnati has shown me, is we have to put our trust in Duke Tobin, because he knows what he's doing in the draft, and he knows where to find quality talent in the NFL draft. What's your take on that?
I don't know that they're going to take the 1st-round wide receiver pick unless somebody's just amazing and they just think they have to have him. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to continue to build on the offensive line. At least that's my hope. I hope that what they do with that 1st-round pick is they find somebody to replace the one guy that I think has been holding back our offensive line the entire time over the past few years, and that's Andre Smith. I hope they let him go like a bad habit, but unfortunately, it seems like Andre Smith is that dirty little secret that they need to keep or something. I don't know what the thought process is behind that, but the guy doesn't play worth a crud in my opinion. Either that or draft high for a really good center. I'd love to see a solid center on our offensive line. Wide receivers can be picked up by the dozens by the 2nd round, so I don't see how they could do that unless, like I said, they got the some sort of amazing, they're going to give up the 1st-round draft pick for a trade for an amazing wide receiver from a team and an established wide receiver at that. That might be something that, could be considered as far as the 1st-round pick goes. But other than that, I don't see it happening. As far as the other, free agents that are still outstanding, I think that we've got the core crew that I really hoped we were going to have. I would have liked to have held on to Sanu probably, or Marvin Jones, one or the other, maybe not give up both of them, but hopefully they have a plan in place. Like you said, they're good at drafting good players. So I'm going to keep my faith in the fact that they have a plan for placing some good wide receivers in Dalton's path. What's your take, man?
All right. Yeah, I agree with that, but okay, you bring up an interesting point because everybody's talking about the fact that Jones and Sanu are now gone. Which of those free agent departures do you think hurts us the most?
I think it's Sanu. I saw some good catches from Jones, but I really think that Sanu's athleticism, like I said earlier, is a lot better than what Jones's was. And I know everybody's going to maybe even disagree with me on that because, you'd see the outtakes on Jones doing his workouts and stuff like that. He's got a great work ethic. I'm not trying to take that away from the guy. But Sanu has always been kind of like the go-to 2nd wide receiver, in my opinion, and Jones was always kind of the 3rd. Now, whether or not that was the correct decision necessarily, last season, who knows? But like I said, I liked Sanu's athleticism. I never really cared for the trick plays, even though that was a variable involved with Sanu. That was kind of cool to have. I wasn't the giant fan of having that as a factor, but a lot of people were. I just happened to think that Sanu had better hands than Marvin. And because of the injury, obviously, on the long term, had we kept Sanu over Marvin, I would have been happy to know that, simply because he would have been less prone to injuries than Marvin Jones, as a pure and simple fact that Jones had an injury in the past.
I agree with you, Scott. I know that Jones, he is very injury prone. We've lost him for almost, I think, a whole season one time, half a season again. But when the man is healthy, I believe that Jones was always putting 110% into every single play, every single game. So for me, I'm going to have to say the biggest departure, the one that hurts the most, is going to be Jones. And I know that I've written about this before, because the fact that whenever Marvin Jones caught a touchdown pass in a game, the winning percentage was even greater than A.J. Green's, better than Brandon Tate, better than Marvin Jones, all of them combined. And you can't – I know you can go out and find a speedy wide receiver, but whenever you have that guy that knows your offense as much as Marvin Jones does, I think it's going to be hard to replace. So I'm going to say that, Jones probably hurt a little bit more than Sanu, but I understand your topic on it and your take on why you would feel that way. So, but, do you have anything else you want to add about that?
No, I knew you were going to pick that side of it, so I'm not surprised at all. Simply because I know that you're a big fan of Jones, and that stat alone is worth definitely thinking about. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now that we've lost them both, there's no telling what's going to happen. There's no telling whether or not we're going to end up regretting that down the road. There's really no way to know for sure, but we'll see what happens. Definitely. I'm just going to ask you real quick, as far as the unrestricted free agents go and the franchise tag, do you think that it was? Do you think that we should have maybe slapped that franchise tag on anybody, or what were your thoughts on that?
Well, Scott, looking at the franchise tag salaries that were out there for a 1-year contract, I believe this year was the highest mark that it had ever been. I mean, if you look at it, two of our main concerns was the safeties and the wide receivers. A safeties franchise tag would have cost $10.8 million against the salary cap, and alongside wide receivers making nearly $15 million. Just for a 1-year contract. And I know the Cincinnati Bengals had already placed out there that they didn't want to spend more than $15 million, between $15 to $20 million on any of their free agents. So they would have had to have just selected one person and let the rest of them go. And that wasn't the right choice for the organization. So I do believe that them not placing the franchise tag on any of these players, on any of these unrestricted free agents, was the right move, because, I mean, some of these salaries that some of these people are going to be placing, they're astronomical. I mean, even a punter was going to make somewhere between $4 to $5 million. So that's my thought on it. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. Unfortunately, I don't have much to argue with you on that, but I do want to tell you that I don't know if you heard this or not, but it kind of made me really grin from ear to ear that Andre Smith reportedly took a visit to Minnesota, but he's still unsigned with the Bengals. So what do you think of that?
If Mike Zimmer can do something with Andre Smith, have at him. I'm like you. I'm frustrated with Andre Smith, and there's actually quite a few components of the offensive line that I'm aggravated with, because, I mean, if a false start's going to happen, we know it's going to happen on either Andre Smith or Andrew Whitworth. If our quarterback's going to go down, he's going to go down because of he's going to go down on Andre Smith's side. Andrew Whitworth might not let the guy get to the quarterback, but he's going to make sure that he holds him until he's going to hold the defensive guy until the ball is released. So, like I said, if Mike Zimmer wants him, all the power to him. Sign him, put him, get him out of Cincinnati. So, what do you think about it?
To me, it would be an answer to my prayers for the past 4 years. I just can't stand Andre Smith. I don't see where their talent really is there. I mean, he's always folding first, so I have no faith in the guy. I think he's way overrated. So whatever they decide to do, as long as they don't re-sign him, I'm fine. The other thing I was going to bring up to you, and I was looking at earlier, and I forgot to mention earlier, that Brandon Tate, we did just sign him for a 1-year deal. So hopefully they've decided that that's enough is enough as soon as the next year is over with. What do you think, man?
I think them signing Brandon Tate to a 1-year contract is them saying prove to us that you're the number 2 that you say that you are. I mean, I've seen flashes where he makes great plays. Personally, I don't like when he's back returning punts or kicks, because I know if he returns a kick, he's going to get it to the 20 to 25. If we're punting away to him, 9 times out of 10, he's going to call a fair catch. I know that you're probably a lot like me. If it's a punt, put Adam Jones back there, because we know that the guy will be 2 yards from him, but you know what? He's not going to do a fair catch unless it's absolutely necessary. I think that the 1-year contract is Cincinnati saying, yeah, we want to give you this last shot. I don't think you're going to get much more out of any other team, and I think he realizes that too, that his productivity is not exactly where it needed to be. So they're giving him this one last chance, and if he comes out next year and is a great number 2 wide receiver, hey, all the more power to him. But if not, they're going to be able to cut their losses. What's your take?
Yeah, I'd like to see. Well, as much as I know everybody badmouths Tate, I'd like to see him have a shot at the slot receiver, not necessarily number 2. I don't think he's a number 2 receiver, to be honest with you. I don't think he has the hands for that, and he doesn't run his routes as good and crisp as he should as a number 2. But I do think that he's a pretty tough guy, and I think he can take some shots, and that's what you need to have in a slot receiver. So I'd like to see him line up in the formation as a slot, see if he can, hang, and then go from there. I'd like to see just them go for somebody completely else as far as the number 2 wide receiver goes. But you never know. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if this puts a fire under him and makes him decide to step up and see how professional he can be as a player and challenge himself that way. It'll be good to see that.
Scott, really quick, I really think that this is also going to get – I think it was Mario Alford that we got in the 7th round last year. I think this is another way for, the coaching staff to say, hey, your time – because I know that I had seen through videos of training camp last year, and he got out on the field, I think, just a little bit, not a lot. I really think that they might even be looking at Mario Alford either for that 2 or 3 spot in the wide receiver, and then go out and draft that wide receiver to develop later for the speed. So I think that that's going to be that option of Mario Alford being able to come in there and really do something great if he is as good as what has been advertised before. Now, I know we need to kind of wrap this up. I got one last question for you I want to bring up to you. I know that free agency is kind of starting to wrap up, or probably more or less for the Bengals, because we know that they've already spent quite a bit of money going against next year's salary cap. Is there anybody still currently that maybe we haven't gotten from Cincinnati, or that's maybe still out there in the NFL that you might like to see be brought in?
I really don't have anybody in mind, to be honest with you. I'm really glad and pleased, other than maybe Tate, I'm really glad and pleased with what's happened so far. I have faith in our team's vision and the reason I do is simply because we've had a playoff team for years and years now, and hopefully we are able to get over the hump and knock out a playoff win, and beyond that, take the Super Bowl down. I think this is the year to do it if we're going to. Knowing that we have Dalton at his prime, we got A.J. Green in his prime, we got a good backfield. Our offensive line is pretty sound. If they don't sign Andre Smith, I will see that as a positive more so than anything else. If they replace our center currently, I think it's Bowling. I'm not positive that that's his name. I think that's his name. If we get rid of him and we get somebody in there that's an animal, I'd be very happy to see that, because there's nothing that's going to help our offense more than having 1 or 2 more seconds for Dalton to be able to laser in on one of these wide receivers. And who that's going to be, I'm not sure yet. But like I said, I have faith in the team. I have faith in our recruiting process, simply because they've done such a phenomenal job over the past 6 to 8 years period. So, as far as there being somebody out there that we, could pick up, to be honest, I haven't really even thought about it, because I have faith in what's going on. I'm sure you probably have somebody in mind, though. Who are you thinking about?
Only if he took a substantial pay cut, which I don't think that he'll do. I would like to see Leon Hall come back one last season to play in the corner, or to play in the nickel corner position. He has been a guy out of Michigan that has played his heart out. for the orange and black. I know he's injury prone, but I'd like to see him one more season. They're not going to, of course, give him $10 million that the franchise tag is going to give. So if he can maybe come down to like a 1-year contract for $2 to $3 million, I'd be happy with that. Other than that, I'd love to see Reggie Nelson come back because I think he was great. I think he's got unfinished business against Pittsburgh. If he's going to go somewhere else, any place but the AFC North. So that's my take on that. So, well, Scott, let me ask you, I know it's been great for the past, about month and a half. We haven't had a really good chance to talk. Do you have any closing remarks for the RBF members out there?
Yeah, absolutely. The RBF is going to be speeding up, folks. Fact is that there's going to be more podcasts coming out. Free agency's, in full speed. We're going to have the draft coming around the corner. We're going to have to talk about all the different options that our Bengals have. We're also going to be, having more articles eventually back out on the website again here shortly. So keep an eye out for that. In addition, I'm planning on putting out some memes here shortly that are probably going to raise some eyebrows, and hopefully it'll get a few likes over at RBF, at our Facebook group and the Facebook page. Again, the website is www.realbengalsfans.com. And only other thing I have to say, as always, is Hoo Day!
Like I said, Scott, it's great to be back and talking Bengals football again. I think that the past couple months, everybody's finally had a chance to digress, really digest everything that happened during the playoffs. But it's great to see everybody starting to talk back on the RBF Facebook group again. We hope to do some more shows here soon. I think we're going to do the debate on, A.J. McCarron versus Andy Dalton. I know that's a hot topic within the RBF, and I think me and you are going to try and, I'm going to try and make a case for A.J. McCarron. I know your boy is Andy Dalton. I'm going to do the best, even though I can with the statistics that are provided for me. And I think we're also going to talk about the coaching changes that have been made because, that is another significant thing that's happened within the Bengals organization that we really need to look at further and how that's going to help us maybe get over that hump in the playoffs. But, as you guys listen to these podcasts, please comment and tell us anything else that you want us to, discuss. And just remember, like we said, check out the Facebook group. And as always, Hoo Day all the way to the Super Bowl.
You know it, brother.